I love Red Dawn. Although there's plenty of action, it's more of a drama. It's about the characters involved in both sides of this guerrilla war and how violence affects them. Go watch it if you haven't, it's a classic. So I've finally gotten around watching the remake. Is it as good?
Sandwich artist, fill this shit with bread.
No, it's not. It's quite shit actually.
That's a shit sandwich without the bread.
Let's not waste any time. If you know anything about the original Red Dawn, you probably noticed it has kind of a bad reputation. Basically, people think that movie is this movie.
It's the Wolverine!
They think it's a power fantasy about heroically fighting off dastardly Soviets, but that's very reductive. It's about a group of kids forced by circumstances into being partisans. But what's the difference between a freedom fighter and a terrorist? Answer? Who you ask. Their actions end up causing a lot of pain for their enemies, yes, but also for themselves, chiefly when their parents end up dead. Slowly, the lines between their enemies and themselves begin to blur as both sides get caught into a spiral of violence. At the same time, we also get to see things from the opposite side, following Ernesto Bella, a Cuban ex-partisan and now army officer in charge of the local troops. He's sort of a sympathetic antagonist. Having fought Batista's troop as a member of the Cuban resistance, he knows that he's now the bad guy. He knows he can't get the people on their side, but it's out of his hands. Gradually, the stakes start rising. Around the middle of the movie, they meet with a downed pilot who helps them turn their group from annoyance to a real problem. Then, the Russians get involved, first using one of them to track them down, and then managing to ambush and decimate them. At the end of the movie, the Eckert brothers just attack the Cuban headquarters by themselves, half as a diversion to let the others escape, half to go down fighting. Bella gets a chance to gun them down, but he lets them go. Maybe it's because he sees himself in them, maybe it's because he knows his side is in the wrong, maybe it's just that he realizes that they're both going to die from their wounds, but fact is, he's the one character to rise above the hatred. The movie ends with the brothers bleeding to death, a passing mention of the war ending, and with their struggles being memorialized. It's somber. Their struggle merely happened by chance and was fueled by hatred and bitterness. But now, long after their deaths, it's their heroism that will be remembered. Good. Great. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but fact is, it's not just a dumb action movie about blasting commies. Is it perfect? No. The action scenes are a bit dated, some are a bit confusing, important lines are delivered less than ideally, and the opening scene where paratroopers shoot a school for no reason is kind of silly unless you want to argue that it's symbolic. But the character drama makes up for the flaws in my opinion. Point is, regardless of taste, I don't think anyone can claim this bastardization is anything other than trash. The remake. If you thought the Cubans paradropping in Colorado was dumb, imagine the North Koreans invading Washington. But before that, we gotta properly introduce the Eckerts, of course. Hey Jed, remember your dead mother?
Shit,
Hey bro, want a delicious beer out of this cheap and convenient six-pack? No, I don't like you, because when mom died you joined the Marines and went to shoot sand people for 6 years. The two brothers are unbearable in this movie.
It's great, man. That's really where we need you off.
You really gonna do this now, Jed?
Whenever they have a talking scene, it's just so awkward.
How about that beer?
Chris Hemsworth just mumbles and stutters the whole movie.
You know, she was a good kisser. What did it taste like?
No, I'm not very good at this, man.
And Josh Peck always holds this goofy fucking smile on his face. But thankfully North Korea happens. Let's pause for a second. Wanna know why they're North Koreans? Well, it's because
China is asshole!
originally it was the Chinese invading, which it's still a stretch, but at least makes some sense. Later on, we get this line.
But North Korea locked down the Pacific Northwest.
And I wonder if these people don't realize how small North Korea is. Also, apparently, it wasn't just the Chinese invading, it was them repossessing some assets after some fuckery of the American debt. Which would explain some aspects of the movie a bit better, because people are really quick to accept their new overlords. But we can't possibly make a movie about China's economic influence on the States would miss out on Chinese money? Anyway, in the original, after the kids escape in the woods, we get introduced to Bella. Immediately it's obvious he knows his shit, and it's only the first time we see him. His counterpart in the remake is this guy who immediately and for no reason starts chasing the escaping kids with a Humvee. There's probably hundreds of cars trying to escape the suburbs. What exactly is your grudge with these people? In a way, this set is character too. Captain Cho is just antagonist man. He gets no scene exploring his character. So, they escape into the woods and try to figure out what's going on. Except they don't, I guess. Jed knows fake news when he sees it. The original has around 30 minutes of character building after their escape. It shows them figuring out what's going on, getting to meet their dad again, getting supplies and horses, until a group of sightseeing Soviets bumps into them. The ensuing struggle is clumsy. The Soviets think they're just lost kids and realize too late that they're in danger. Nonetheless, they die, and the occupiers end up executing some people in reprisal, including the Eckert's dad. This is what pushes them to actually become partisans instead of just hiding in the woods. How well does the remake handle this transformation? A truck drives up to their hideout. It's like 3 people who, somehow, know where they are, what they're up to, and are there to join them. One guy shoots at them by mistake, and Jed is like,
No! Give me a gun.
Give Nick.
so he decides to leave and snitch on the Norks. I mean, if you don't like being bossed around, I really don't think that's a better choice. Seriously, how petty of a motivation is that? So they get their dads on a megaphone trying to convince them to come home. Might I remind you that they literally did nothing at this point, they just left. And I get that North Korea isn't particularly fond of people escaping their country, but surely the vast majority of people decided to fuck right off once they saw the paratroopers drop on top of their houses? Anyway, they get their dads on the megaphone.
I want you to go to war. Stop this piece of shit.
Joe knew this was gonna happen, he couldn't give less of a shit.
Lord, these heroic types with their speeches.
So what they're trying to do here is mix the dead meeting scene with the execution scene, which not only is less impactful than a crowd of battered people defiant till the end, it's also less impactful for the group. That one policeman that you knew dies, so now you're gonna turn into a commando complete with training montage? At this point in the original, minus the training of course, because there's no marine characters to train them, they just ambush some guys. Fair enough, right? Let's see how the remake does the first guerrilla scene. They dug holes in the middle of town? There is a checkpoint right there. When did you have time to do this? Why not just have them pop out of a dumpster or something? Oh, because they had to copy this scene, I get it. But then... Excuse me? First of all, in 40 seconds you stripped a corpse, put the uniform on, and then? This lady clearly stayed behind and clearly heard gunfire, so what the fuck happened? Was she not ready for you? Did you want her to call for backup to steal this Humvee? Good thing they didn't show up in an APC, or more than one Humvee, or an Humvee with doors even. Your goal was just to steal good weapons, where the fuck did this come from? Whatever, they got lucky enough to find some C4 in the doorless Humvee, so now they get ready to bomb some shit. Before that, however, they gotta take the piss out of the blood drinking scene.
What did it taste like?
You know? Oh, hell no, we don't.
We never drank that shit.
In the original, this is part of the character building section before they meet the 3 Soviets. It tells us a little about the brothers and their childhood. We know they went out hunting and know a thing or two about rifles. It's also a metaphor for Robert's arc, since he's the one who'll end up consumed by bloodthirst.
All that hate's gonna burn you up, kid.
Keeps me warm.
Not only Robert doesn't do anything special in this fucking movie, at this point the Eckerts should still be mad at each other, so this prank scene is really out of place. After this spit in the eye, they plan to put the C4 to good use. Oh my god, is that the scout from Team Fortress 2? Oh wait, no, it's C4. Oh no. Hey look, it's Betrayal Guy. Amazing. Oh wow, thanks for the whistle, Jed. I thought we were just going to gawk at the fire for another half hour. Seriously, that one guy put the bomb down and the others just stood there with guns in their hands. Now you're on the run because you wanted to see the explosion? Why did you even bring rifles instead of your other more easily concealable...
Dude.
Oh, it's this scene.
Sandwich artist. Fill this shit with bread.
What kind?
Yes, America got EMP'd and occupied by North Koreans, but a light shines in darkness. It's not the Wolverines, it's Subway, a beacon of capitalism blazing over the Black Sea of commie takeover. Their whole supply chain is intact, their whole bread healthier than ever.
What kind?
I don't care. There's no flatbread. Wheat, honey oats, tuna, turkey.
Shit sandwich without the bread.
All for just $9.99 North Korean wons. We don't care that there's tanks rolling out in the streets. Our employees show up on time and follow standard hygienic procedures. Red Dawn or not, damn it. Whatever, they share a wonderful heart-to-heart moment.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Dude, we're living Call of Duty. And it sucks.
Then they get ready to bomb a public speech.
Teams of engineers ready to restore power and utilities.
Yes, Subway already has a working soda dispenser and refrigeration, but that's because the Supreme Leader is a big fan. But oh no, there's a bus with Matt's girlfriend randomly passing through and he blows the secondary explosive early. I really hope Cho doesn't leave the stage before the bomb goes off. I better stand in front of this fucking window to see if he's leaving. What, did you not notice the security detail before? Man, how very lucky for Cho that these fucking retards decide to occupy a vantage point to watch the bomb go off instead of just blowing up the decoy and disperse with the civilians. Whatever, they escape of course, like one guy dies, but who gives a shit, there's an Uber coming. One guy on the stage was Russian Man.
The guy sitting behind Show, he's Russian. Blue Beret means he's Spetsnaz, Russian Special Forces.
Does his introduction change anything? No, of course not, but Brachenko was a pretty important character in the original, so we gotta have him again, except this guy has literally 0 lines. One thing that changed is that now some of the soldiers that shoot are Russians. That's the whole scene. Oh, and Matt got his girlfriend back, that's it, she doesn't even need any training, she's instantly a Wolverine. Yep, this little failure was not a setback at all, they just go back to regular Wolverine shit. They're actually doing so well at this point that Cho gets a dressing down by his commander. But apparently he has the location of their hideout. How? Who knows, but he's got a plan, and the plan is... shell them. I mean, why not? So, 2 people die and they're on the run now? Except the movie forgets about this and apparently they're not being followed anymore. Except they randomly and conveniently meet up with 3 Marines that are there to contact them.
Hey, shit for brains. You're assassin a United States Marine.
They explain the situation and give them a most vital mission.
Prepare to capture the enemy's intelligence.
For real. So they get to a building next to occupied police station, change into a North Korean uniform between shots and...
There's no way in there.
There's one.
What? You jump?
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's not a plan, that's a shit sandwich without the bread.
jump on the roof with 2 guards on it before shooting the guards from the vantage point.
It's not a plan, that's bread. Sandwich without bread.
Good thing they didn't shout in surprise or tried apprehending the guy wearing their same uniform in pitch darkness.
I hate these kids.
Whatever, they all get on the roof and prepare to infiltrate the compound.
Down, down, down!
Shit's Creek, motards.
And they forgot to turn off the light in the establishing shot. They split up to search for the box and... okay, for fuck's sake. Yes, the original has a scene where one guy uses a captured uniform to trick the enemy. But while this guy can pass for a Cuban, these guys cannot pass for North Koreans. And not only they don't even try to, so what's the fucking point? Remember that amazing scene with Pete?
Collaborators.
You wasted one scene showing that collaborators exist, and instead of having the Wolverines use their uniforms to blend in, you put a black guy in a North Korean uniform? The movie just pulls 4 North Korean uniforms out of nowhere and they serve no purpose at all. But when they're found, this admittedly clever bit of misdirection happens. Yeah, couldn't give him the uniform, better leave the war crimes to the kids. And then it evolves into a chaotic shootout with all sorts of shit happening as they try to capture the flag.
The enemy has dropped our intelligence.
Somewhat abruptly, we cut to this guy running away. I guess he was just out of bullets. I have a lot more to say about this, just keep this scene in mind. As I said, those uniforms trick absolutely no one. Not even a second of hesitation. While the others fight, Jed and Cho start punching each other until they randomly stumble into his father's ex-office and he opens a floor-level safe and grabs a gun.
You fucked with the wrong family.
Riveting. Listen, this guy did kill your dad, but aside from that he really didn't do anything? Like, he's not even a particularly big shot. It's a captain guy, a somewhat inept captain guy I might add. So now they get back to base, partying, except the Russians arrive and shoot Jed. Oh no. They have a shootout and it's somewhat confusing because in half the shots you can see sunlight coming from the windows, but when they go outside it's pitch black. Of course, they manage to escape once more because the Russian special forces apparently can't secure a building. Also, I'd like to point out that they shouldn't have power!
I didn't think, no.
They noticed someone was having a party in the dead of night?
No. No way they could track us.
Maybe that communication device you stole as a tracking component? Or is always connected to the GPS network?
Daryl, lift up your jacket.
Why?
Shit. They tagged him with something. Like what they do with the animals.
I'm sorry, did nobody take a look at his wounds before now? I mean, apparently not, it's still bleeding.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt. It's okay.
Okay, so they did take a look, but I guess Robert, the tracking devices expert, didn't. The guy just decided to keep bleeding. Why? So that we could have a smudge of drama before the movie ends.
You can cut it out of him, right, Rob? Cut it out of him.
There's no way. With what?
If this reveal happened during the party as someone's treating his wounds and the Russians just burst through the doors, it would make some sense. But instead it happens now, so that this lady can screech at him for getting Jet headshotted. Of course, to make sense of this, we need to look at the better movie. In the original, these two are kind of the same character. The mayor's son, Daryl, who off-screen gets captured by the Russians, and since they torture his father, he agrees to betray the Wolverines, leading the Soviets back to them. They manage to spot and ambush the Russians and find out that Daryl was forced to swallow a bug they could track with a device. They want to shoot him alongside a captured Russian soldier, and it's this tense scene where they argue about the morality of their actions as they're about to kill a prisoner of war alongside one of their own who was forced to betray them. Jed shoots the Russian but can't bring himself to kill Daryl, but Robert can, because Robert has an arc and isn't just generic Wolverine number 6. While trying to emulate the events of what's possibly the most thematically relevant scene in the movie, they split this character in half. One guy do betray them, for no reason, and the other half leads the Soviets to them, accidentally. Yes, his father is a collaborator, but so what? That never comes up. We can't have conflict between our action movie heroes, they're all good guys, and good guys don't betray each other. The funny thing is, if the first Red Dawn was just a meat-headed action movie about shooting commies, it would have at least been understandable. What better time to make such a movie? Instead, it was a character drama about kids turning into killers and inadvertently causing a spiral of violence that ended up with their deaths. So, of course, when it gets remade, all the characters are thrown out in favor of villains devoid of any characters and badass action heroes being badass, fighting an enemy that, in real life, isn't even a regional threat. It's not even a better action film. Scenes just happen because they did in the original. Then they're stripped of all meaning and substance or end up feeling forced or nonsensical. For example, Tanner was a really important character. The kids look up to him, he's the one to teach them proper tactics, he bonds and spends time with them, and his death is a major setback. You know, the audience gets to know him and ends up caring about him. Not in small part thanks to the movie doing a much better job showing the passage of time, making the story feel more naturally paced. But here, instead, they have 3 different Marines. For what reason exactly? They just come out of nowhere after the Wolverine suffer that defeat the movie just forgets about, give them a mission, help a bit, and have this fucking dickhead, who I assume we're supposed to care about because he's the funny man,
That's right, Motard.
die in a very dramatic way. They even have Cho kill him because action heroes don't die from henchmen. He just grabs a grenade from a rack of vests with grenades on them, which I'm sure that's a thing in North Korean bases. This is literally 10 minutes after he's introduced, by the way. And in case you're wondering, the movie ends with the Wolverines keeping up the fight. I guess they kept it open for a sequel. Whatever. That was the Red Dawn remake, pretty much irredeemable. It took scenes from the original and blindly copied them, leaving the soul behind and being left with a mediocre action movie. Not over the top enough to be fun, not competent enough to be gripping, and only concerned with making its characters cool. Well, thanks for watching, hope you had fun laughing at this garbage. See ya.
So, how about that beer now?
Wow. My first one.